Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. It is going to be my monthly makeup roundup where I am reviewing a bunch of products that I've been testing over the course of, my thought is the last month, but I am so far behind on like reviewing products that I've hauled even from like 3 months ago. So this is gonna be a longer video, but going forward, I'm hoping to be more consistent, and every single month I will just review the products that I was testing the previous month. So I have a ton to review today. I have this basket full plus a bunch of other stuff that is just sitting out in front of me. So if you guys are interested in seeing my review, thoughts, whatever it might be on the products that I've been testing out and just really using quite a bit the last few months, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project planning content, or you just like to chit chat about makeup, I would love if you would consider subscribing before moving on. I am going to be trying to post a minimum of 4 times a week going forward. I get super nervous to like commit to a number of videos because I feel like then I'm gonna fail, but that's what we're shooting for. So I hope you'll consider subscribing if you have not already. And other than that, let's get into the video. All right, you guys, my hair has a mind of its own today, so we're just gonna ignore that. Normally my monthly makeup recaps are not gonna be this long, but like I said, I am so far behind on reviewing products, and I really wanna get back to a consistent basis of reviewing products. So my apologies if this video is going to be really long. I thought about breaking it up and doing like this and then a speed reviews, but I'm just gonna get it all out of the way here. And then if I miss anything, perhaps I'll do a speed review. But let's start with, actually let's start with like just 2 hair care products that are non-makeup, and then everything else, I think, I have a couple of skincare maybe, but everything else will be makeup. So I just wanted to briefly include this hair care duo. This is from Briogeo. It's their Be Gentle, Be Kind Banana and Coconut Nourishing Superfood Shampoo and Conditioner. I have mine flipped upside down because keeps the product down here, obviously. So I have been using these, gosh, I want to say I purchased these either in May or June, and I have been so in love with this combo. I really do like Briogeo products in general, but it's never been like, there's never been a shampoo and conditioner set that I've been like die hard over. It's usually their deep conditioning masks, and I have really, really thick, really dry, damaged hair just from like all of the coloring that I've done to it. I also really need to get a haircut. I think I'm coming up on, I'm so embarrassed to say this, and I feel like people are gonna chew me up for this. I wanna say it's been like 2 years almost since I've actually like gone to someone to get my haircut. I'll trim my hair on my own. I'm not afraid to do that, but I don't take the best care of my hair. So when I started using this, I wasn't really expecting much, especially because the shampoo is super runny and super liquidy. I was like, this is just not gonna work for me. But every time I use this combo, I feel like my hair never has felt better. It feels so nourished. It feels so much smoother and softer. And I've just been such a fan of this. So if you have dry, thick hair, I would definitely recommend checking this one out. I've also been super into banana scented things, and I feel like most people are not, but that's just an added bonus. So I wasn't gonna necessarily come on and talk about like anything other than makeup, but I had to recommend these, or that set to you guys. And then I also have been playing around with the Cara Color Clenditioner. I currently am using the shade Merlot. I previously was using one that was supposed to make your hair just like darker, and I think not like more ashy, but it was supposed to help cancel out redness if you just wanted like a darker, maybe it was ash brown. I'll have to go back and look at the color, which I did really like that, especially like between colorings. I do dye my hair at home, and I've been wanting to play around with red again, not like red, but just like a warmer brown. So this, I don't know how well you'll be able to tell, but it's supposed to, after a few washes, it's supposed to like change the color of your hair. And again, I have pretty dark hair, so I wasn't necessarily like expecting much from this, but I wanted to just play around with it. And I've noticed such a difference, even in, I've done 3 washes up until this point in the span of maybe about a week and a half. And it obviously isn't looking like this like pink color, which I wasn't really wanting it to. I was going off of this picture on the back. I don't know if that's even gonna focus, but it was just looking like it was gonna be this like really deep brown with like hints of red in it. And that's what I feel like I'm getting. My hair again has a mind of its own today. It's really dirty. I need to wash it. But I've been really impressed with this. So if you've been wanting to like dabble with color, but not necessarily commit to like a permanent hair dye, I would recommend checking this out. Or if you're looking to like maintain your color a little bit better between like dyes, I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I've been really impressed with this. I'll leave it linked down below. They have a bunch of different colors. I get mine at Ulta, and I wanted to shout this out too because I've had some really good luck with this. All right, now everything else is going to be makeup, and I'm gonna try and fly through some of these things just because I have so much to get through. But like I said, I'm hoping that my typical makeup monthly roundups don't include this many products. But up first, I have a couple of setting sprays, and I've had these, I wanna say, since May or June. I have the L'Oreal Lumi Shake and Glow Dew Mist. I picked this up for my Splurge or Save video because I wanted to see how similar this was to some of my other luminous dewy setting mists, such as the Tatcha Luminous Dew, the Tatcha Mist. I've used quite a bit of this, as you can tell, and I do like this. I think it's nice and hydrating. I don't think it adds like too much of a glow. There's certain glow mists that can end up being a little bit too dewy or getting a little bit too dewy, and I don't notice that with this. I don't necessarily know that I would call this a dupe for the Tatcha Mist, however, and this isn't something that I love so much that I can see myself repurchasing when I finish this. Oftentimes, because I just love testing out new products so much, unless I really love something, it's not going to turn into a repurchase for me. So I always like to touch on that. And I like this. It's just not something that I foresee myself purchasing over trying a different product. And then also I picked up the Urban Decay All Nighter Ultra Glow Mist because I had finished up my Urban Decay All Nighter Mist, which is my favorite, like just favorite for locking my makeup in. It's been a tried and true for so many years. So I wanted to try the Ultra Glow one, and I do like this one as well. I feel like it's a little bit more hydrating than the Urban Decay All Nighter, obviously. But I also don't feel like this is something that gets too out of control glowy either. So I think in the future I will continue to purchase this one just because I like that it still leaves a little bit of like a healthy glow to the skin without being too much. And I personally like to have my skin looking a little bit glowy. So I'll always continue to purchase the All Nighter, but I think I will stick with the glow version in the future. All right, next let's move on to the primer category. I have 4 primers that I've been testing in the last few months. So let's start with this one from Pacifica. This is the Vegan Collagen Skin Solve Prime, Blur, and Hydrate. I have not tested out that many primers on my channel, or had not thus far this year. And you guys know I love primers if you're a longtime subscriber. And so I decided to pick this up. I had Ulta points to redeem, and I wanted to give this a try because it had really good reviews. And I really do not like this. This is probably one of the worst makeup products I feel like I've tried so far in 2020. I feel like this pills up on me no matter what I do, and it has ruined some makeup looks to the point where I've had to like go in and physically take my makeup off and start over. So I am not a fan of this, and I don't feel like I could recommend this. I might try this 1 or 2 more times, but this is something I feel like I'll declutter. And with a primer, it's really, really rare that I declutter primers because usually I can find a way to repurpose them. This, I don't think is going to be the case. And then actually the next 3 primers are all from e.l.f. So e.l.f. did send along a PR package that included the new Acne Fighting Putty Primer, which I've used both the e.l.f. like the original putty primer in the past as well as the luminous version. I do like the original e.l.f. putty primer, but I wasn't a huge fan of the luminous one. It just looked way too artificial in my opinion. I think this is really nice. I was looking to purchase the e.l.f. putty primer in the original again. When I originally used mine up, I was like, I liked it, but it wasn't something that I was interested in repurchasing. But then over time, I felt like I kind of missed it. So it was nice to reintroduce this and kind of get that back in my life. This reminds me quite a bit of the original. It's not luminous in any way. I feel like if you have a lot of redness on your skin, you would really like this because the green color would help to cancel it out. And I've been really happy with this just because, again, I kind of was interested in using the putty primer again. It's really nice and blurring to the skin. It's kind of pore filling, and I would absolutely recommend this one if you like a smoothing primer and you're looking for something to kind of just fill your pores, smooth your skin. I do feel like this helps make my makeup just go on smoother and look better. So I am a fan of that. And then the other 2 primers from e.l.f. So I have the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Dew Primer, which I've been wanting to try for so long. And then I also have the Mint Melt Cooling Face Primer. These 2 remind me so much of each other. I think that they're really, really similar. The Dew Primer obviously just has more of a luminous glow to it. And One thing I was really surprised by with both of these is I didn't realize that specifically this one is more of, both are gripping primers, but I kind of knew that about this one just based on reviews I'd seen. This I thought was just an illuminating primer, but these are so sticky. It almost feels like you're putting glue on your face in a way. It's just it's a bizarre texture in my opinion. Like more sticky in my opinion than the Milk Hydro Grip Primer, which this is supposed to be a dupe for. I do think both of these do a really nice job of making your makeup last longer. They do grip your makeup, but it's just a very interesting texture. And putting it on, like it just feels sticky even on my fingers. Like it's just an interesting feeling. That's my only gripe with this, is they're super sticky, but if you want your makeup to last longer, I do recommend both of these. I don't notice like a huge cooling sensation with the Mint Melt Primer. Maybe a little bit, but nothing significant at all. And I do like the luminosity that this one offers. However, I would never use this primer on its own just because it is so sticky. So I'm covering that luminosity up typically with a foundation anyway, unless I'm using like a super thin tinted moisturizer. That would be the only way that I really feel like the glow still shines through. So wanted to mention that, but still I'm really happy with both of these. And I would say if I had to choose one, I would probably go with the Mint Melt personally, and I could see myself repurchasing in the future. Moving on to powder, I have one powder, and I mentioned this in my favorite products of 2020 so far. I am such a fan of the CoverGirl Clean Fresh powder. I picked mine up in the shade 140 Light, which works really well for me when I have a self-tan. This is a powder foundation, so it does offer more coverage than just like a setting powder or a translucent powder. And I am so impressed with this because it just blurs the skin out while still offering this beautiful, healthy glow to the skin. It does not make your face look flat. And this honestly like has fixed, there have been a couple days where my makeup has not been looking great, just like my foundation, my liquid foundation. I'll go over top with this and I just love the finish of this. I am like 100% continuing, like will continue to repurchase this. This has become one of my new favorite pressed powders. It's a drugstore, so it is more affordable, which is super exciting. I've definitely been more into pressed powders over loose powders lately as well, but I literally cannot rave about this enough. I dropped this and before I picked it up, I looked at my husband because we were like heading out to go somewhere, and I was like, we actually may need to stop at Target before going to, I can't remember where we're going. I was like, we might actually have to stop at Target so I can replace this powder. But then it was just a little crack at the top that I was able to repress. But this is a product, if I did not have this, I would need to immediately go out and replace this. I hope that they never discontinue this. It's so beautiful. One of my favorite things that I am reviewing today. And if you're looking for a good pressed powder, I definitely recommend testing out the Clean Fresh from CoverGirl. I have two concealers really quick to review. One is my Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion, which I've owned in the past. I just repurchased a shade that works well when I have a self-tan. I love this. I'm not going to drone on about this because I've talked about this many times on my channel before. It offers a really beautiful medium coverage, really hydrating underneath the eyes. Not going to do a ton to cancel out any like darkness that you have. So if you have a lot to cover up, I don't feel like this is going to be your favorite, but if you like a light to medium coverage concealer, I love this one so much from Laura Mercier. So I had to repurchase that, and I've been using that a ton. And then also I picked up the Catrice True Skin High Coverage Concealer. This one has hyaluronic acid, and I really like this one as well. I don't feel like this one offers a ton of coverage either. For me, this is more medium. Could probably be built up to close to a full, but I just prefer a medium coverage. It says it's a high coverage concealer, and because this one is really thin, I just don't feel like it is like super high coverage. So be leery of that again if you are looking for a really full coverage concealer. I do find this one to be really hydrating underneath the eyes. I will say it isn't the most long wearing concealer ever. Like I feel like this one does get crease on me a little bit after. Every concealer creases on me, but I feel like this one I really noticed creasing at like the 7 or 8 hour mark. I was feeling like stuck in a concealer rut, and I also needed a concealer that was a little bit darker that matched me when I had a self tan, so it was good for that purpose. I just don't think this is going to turn into something that like stays in my collection past when I finish this one. Most of the most of the foundations or skin tints that I've been testing, I just recently did a ranking all of my skin tints, and then I also did a ranking all of my foundations video. So I'll leave both of those linked down below. So I'm not really gonna go through and re-review some of those. I tried to just give my review in those videos, but I did just want to give a quick shout out to the Oma Beauty by Sharon C Flawless in Real Life Skin Perfecting Foundation. This is the one that is available at Walmart. This is so incredible. This is one of my favorite makeup products that I've tried this year. This and the CoverGirl Clean Fresh, both drugstore. Maybe I need to give drugstore more of a chance. I mentioned in my ranking my foundation video that this truly does not settle into my forehead lines, which is so incredibly rare for me to find in a foundation. So this is 100% like will repurchase. I'm so happy with this. That's why I just had to give it a quick shout out. I'm not going to drone on about it. But if you've been eyeing this, like you go get it, sister. All right, we've got a lot of bronzer to review because I just can't help myself, and I love bronzer. I have 5 bronzers that I've been testing. Let's start with cream and liquid. So let's start with this one from e.l.f. that just did not work for me. This is the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. I believe I have mine in the shade Tan Lines. This just doesn't really work, at least for me. When I try to apply this with a brush, I just feel like it picks up my foundation. It's really, really sheer. If I like rub my finger in and dab it out with my finger, I just feel like it shears out so much, and it always just seems to blend away into nothing. So this really just did not work for me. If you like a super, super, super sheer coverage bronzer, you could end up really liking this. I could see this being really beautiful with a really sheer skin tint and just like a hint of warmth. But I also feel like the wear time on this is not that long either. Like I feel like it just ends up fading away into nothing really quickly into the day. So for me, I'm not a fan of this. I know it's less expensive. It's a drugstore, it's an e.l.f. product, but I don't personally think that that one is worth it, and it just did not work for me. Then I have this one from Persona. This is the Bronze Multi-Stick. I have mine in the shade Dune, and I've really been liking this one. I've actually used quite a bit of this for this being newer to my collection. This is it all the way rolled down. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but like the dome is lower than the top, which is just, it's rare for me to use a product that much when I first get it. This is really, really warm toned. It can lean a little bit orange, so be leery of that, especially if you do not like a really warm bronzer. I don't feel like you're gonna like this, but for the summertime, I've really enjoyed that. This is really, really creamy and easy to use. It blends out really quickly. It's very beginner friendly. My only issue with this is I do get that it picks up my foundation sometimes, so I prefer to use this on days that I'm doing the reverse foundation technique, where I lay all of my cream products down and then I go over top everything with a light coverage foundation or skin tint. It's weird though, like sometimes I'll get it where it picks up my foundation on one side and not the other. So it doesn't always pick my foundation up, but there's always that risk going into it. This is something I don't think I will repurchase when I finish, just because I personally prefer the Milk Makeup stick, but I still think this is nice, and if you've been eyeing it, those are kind of my thoughts on that. Next up, I have the iconic London Sheer Bronze Liquid Bronzer. I was really nervous about this going into this. This is definitely a Samantha March made me buy it. Liquid bronzers and blushes do intimidate me a little bit, just because I feel like they're a little bit more difficult for me to work with than a cream product, but this is such a sheer product that it is easy to work with, but it's not sheer in the same way that the e.l.f. bronzer is sheer. You still get this glow to the skin. It's so hard to describe, but it is more of like just like a sheer bronzed glow. You can build it up too to be a little bit more pigmented, and it just blends out really easily. So if you are new, like even if you're a beginner, I would say that this is a product that you're gonna easily figure out how to work with. And this is another one I've really enjoyed for the summer with just lighter coverage looks. Or maybe I'm doing no foundation, but I go on with a primer and I want to add just a little bit of dimension to my face. I'll put this on and I think it's so beautiful. I've been really impressed with that. And then I have 2 powder bronzers. This first one is from Huda Beauty. It is the Soft Radiance Bronzing Powder from the Glowish line. I have mine in the shade 3 Tan Light. Looks like this. I was really worried about this when I first purchased this, because I saw some reviews saying like this really didn't show up on the skin. It could be because of my shade, but I feel like this works really well for me. It is lighter for being like the third deepest shade. It still is lighter, but it can be built up, and it's just so beautiful because it's not a matte bronzer, but it's not super luminous that it's like over the top glowy, and I just feel like it truly adds a sun-kissed glow to the face that looks so natural. I've been wanting to reach for this so often. I've had to like tell myself to put this away. Super impressed with this. I love Huda Beauty, and this product was no exception. I just realized I have another bronzer I almost forgot about. This one is from LYS. It's the No Limits matte bronzer. I have mine in the shade Harmony, which I believe is the middle shade. I want to say there's 3 shades. I have not been that impressed with this one. I just don't feel like this one blends out super seamlessly. I feel like I have to spend a little bit of extra time working with this one. I don't love the shade on me either, and I was really excited about this, but I honestly have not been that impressed with it. Not excited to reach for this one. I know there is a lighter shade that maybe would have worked better for me because then I could build it up a little bit more, but I'm just not 100% happy with the way that this blends out. It's just a little bit... It's just not as seamless as I like my bronzers to look, so I have not loved this one, and I don't necessarily know that I feel comfortable recommending it just because I've had issues with it blending out. So those are my feelings on the LYS bronzer. And then finally, I have this bronzing duo from Vive Cosmetics. This is newer to my collection, but I have also not been able to put this one down. I picked mine up in the medium 1, medium 2. And both of these I think are really beautiful. If I'm super self-tan, I'll go in with this shade, but in most days I go in with this shade right here. These are really soft powders. Again, very easy to work with, very easy to blend, and they're more buildable, which I have definitely been preferring just because sometimes, because I love bronzer so much, it's very easy for me to get a little bit out of hand and me to look like I actually was eating Doritos while I did my makeup and put my brush in like the Dorito bag and actually blended Doritos out onto my face. Sometimes it looks like that. So I do prefer something that's a little bit more buildable because it just offers a little bit more flexibility in what you're going for your level of bronze that day. I love the packaging. I love the black and gold. It just looks so chic, and I think this is absolutely stunning. If you've been looking to pick anything up from Vive Cosmetics, I've been loving this, and then I also have blushes that I've been loving from Vive as well. So speaking of Vive's blushes, let's just move right into those as we move into the blush category, which I have quite a few blushes to review as well. I have 2 of the Vive blushes. I have the shade Sorbet, which is this really, really beautiful, vibrant shade. I purposefully chose a vibrant shade because I wanted to have fun with the sunburnt look for the summer. And then I have the shade Piazza, I think, which is this one right here, which again kind of looks like a bronzy sunburn. What I will say about these blushes, love the packaging. Again, I think beautiful packaging. These are very pigmented, so I don't know that these are the most beginner-friendly blushes. I would definitely recommend a super fluffy brush. Tap your brush out, tap it onto, what I like to do is tap any excess powder off, which these are not very powdery at all. But then I also just like tap my blush brush onto my hand a couple of times to get a little bit of the pigment off, and then I go onto my cheeks. Or I'll like blend it with a like finishing powder, like the Hourglass powder, just to kind of diffuse it a little bit. But if you find that you can't find blushes that are as pigmented as you like, I would absolutely recommend these because again, they are just so pigmented. I think they're absolutely beautiful, and I would highly recommend checking these out if there is a shade you're interested in. So then I have 4 cream blushes. Let's talk about the one that I like the least first. This is from Freck Beauty. It is the Cheek Slime, I want to say. Yeah, Cheek Slime. And I have mine in the shade Fielding, which is this rust red shade. The packaging was very deceptive. It is this rust red shade that I will swatch for you really quick. There it is right there. And there is blended out. So right off the bat, I don't love the shade. I just don't feel like it's a shade that looks good on my skin tone. Had I known what the shade looked like, I would not have purchased this, just knowing that it probably would not have looked good on my skin tone. I thought I could make it work as like a sunburnt sort of effect, but it just does not blend out in a way that I ever think looks good on my skin. I don't always love liquid blushes to begin with. I'm still kind of interested in the more neutral shade. I don't know why I always feel like I should buy something in a different shade if something isn't working for me, but I don't find the formula that easy to work with. I've applied this directly to my cheeks. I put it on my hand and swirled like a beauty sponge, a brush. I've tried lots of different ways to apply this, and I'm just not a fan of this. I'm sure most of it comes down to just a shade thing, but that just did not work for me. Then I have the Bite Beauty Daycation Whipped Blush in the shade Melon Mojito, which I love the shade of this. I think the shade is absolutely stunning. My one thing with this is the packaging. Because of the packaging, it's kind of hard to squeeze this product out. And I feel like when you get to the end of this product, it's going to be almost impossible to get the product out. So I don't feel like the packaging is the most effective or efficient packaging. That would be my one gripe with this. Also, this does dry down quicker than a lot of other cream blushes that I'm used to working with. So I do like to work cheek to cheek. And usually I will put a little bit onto my under my hand, and then I'll take my finger, dab it onto my cheeks, and then blend it with a stippling brush or a beauty sponge. I think that the shade is beautiful, and this has a really, really good wear time on it. There's not a large shade range, and this is more expensive. If there's a shade you're like die hard over, then I would say yes, pick it up. Other than that, I would say like if you're on the fence, like there are better cream and liquid blushes out there, you can probably skip this. Two cream blushes I've been so impressed with. I love both of these. I have one of the Melt cream blushes. This is a cream blush light in the shade Golden Hour, which is such a beautiful blush. This has a really, really beautiful sheen to it without being glittery, and I freaking adore this blush so much. I really want to try one of the like more matte versions of this as well. This is so creamy, so easy to use. You can use a brush, you can go on with your finger, beauty sponge, whatever it might be. Such an easy formula to work with. $22 I feel like is a pretty good price on this as well. I think it's really beginner friendly. Highly recommend this one from Melt. And then I also really enjoy the makeup, I also really enjoy the Mario blush sticks as well. I have mine in the shade Earthy Pink, which is a really beautiful shade. I was thinking I wasn't gonna love the shade, but blended onto the cheeks, it gives just the most beautiful, like rosy flush to the cheeks. It looks really pigmented right here, but you can blend this out to be super natural, or you can build it up to give like a pretty intense pigmentation to the cheeks. It is I don't want to say a stiffer formula. No, it's not. It's not super, super creamy, but it's not super, super stiff. So I do find it really, really easy to work with. I absolutely love this. I'm going to shear it out so you guys can see, like, sheared out. It really just gives a natural flush to the cheeks, and I just absolutely love it. Definitely recommend this one from Mario as well. I really kind of want to try his sculpting stick now too, even though I do not need that. Moving on to highlighters, I have one actually from the Mario line. This is the Soft Glow highlighter in the shade Pearl, and I was really interested in this because I've been more into a like softer highlight, a more subtle highlight. There it is right there. So beautiful. This is actually nice and subtle on the cheeks. You can really shear this out. Do you see how wet that looks? This one has a really interesting texture too, in that it's like really soft and really smooth. It like doesn't feel powdery at all. It almost feels like a ColourPop Super Shock Shadow. It's such a nice texture. It doesn't like, it like almost just like melts into your skin because it is so thin and so smooth. It just looks like such a natural glow. So beautiful. I'm drooling. And then the other highlight that I have to review is this one from Westman Atelier. This is the highlight stick in the shade Lit Up, which is such a beautiful, just like wet peachy shade. It almost looks like nothing on the skin. It is a little bit stickier and it doesn't really set down all the way, so I really just use this on days that I'm doing like no makeup and I want just a little bit of a glow to the cheeks, or if I'm doing a really light coverage skin tint. Sometimes I use it as like a all over face illuminator, but because this is so expensive, I don't love to do that. But as a highlight on the cheeks, I do think it's really beautiful. It is sticky, so you will get that stickiness that sometimes your hair sticks to. unless you set it with like a powder highlight. So I know that that is bothersome to a lot of people, but I've been really impressed with this. I don't 100% know that I would. I want to say I'd repurchase this, and then I feel like I'd get to repurchasing it and being like, it's $48, this is ridiculous. But I love the luxe packaging, and I do really love the look and the finish on the skin. I don't think it's a necessity by any means. No makeup is, but I have really liked that luxurious experience. And then the last products I have to review are these two lip products, both from Vive Cosmetics as well. I have one of the Modern Matte lipsticks in the shade Vive, which is this really beautiful nude shade right there, swatched. And then I have the lip liner in Velvet Sands, which is also a really beautiful nude. These two paired together are super pretty. I will say I really love the lip liner. The lipstick is not my absolute favorite. I love the packaging, but I do find for some reason, I get this with certain lip products. For some reason, like in the center of my lips, not just like butthole lips, but literally in the center of my lips, like out here as well, sometimes lip products just literally do not stick to my lips there. And I get that with this from time to time, unless I like really prime my lips and I'm having like, I don't know, a good lip day. I also feel like this shade is just not the absolute perfect shade for my skin tone. It's a really beautiful cool tone nude, but sometimes there's just specific cool tone nudes that are just almost, it almost looks like concealer lips on me. Jamie Genevieve has always the most beautiful lip combinations, but this shade in particular just doesn't work for me the best. I would be interested in trying a little bit deeper of a shade just to kind of see if I get the same issue on my lips and how I feel about a different shade. But lip liner, love. I feel like this has really good lasting power. I use this all over my lips kind of as a lipstick as well, and I think this is really nice. I love the shade Velvet Sands. This is like my favorite type of nude. It's just a little bit deeper than the actual lipstick. So after that, those are all of the products that I have to review in this monthly makeup roundup, even though this is like encompassing 3 months. Hopefully there'll be less to review next month. I would love to know, what have you recently been testing out, trying, loving, hating? Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel, as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.